I hope that you guys are keeping well. As for me, today is a holiday. It is, the Heritage Day in South Africa. I didn't even bother to read up what the hell it means. I bet it's just something of unity again. But nonetheless, this is a holiday today, and we got Friday off, so it's a long weekend. I just got the best burritos today in town. It was this woman, and we have. So what's happening is our little town has a every month there's a on the field they're selling a big market, and they're selling all sorts of different, like a smorgasbord of different options and different stuff, almost like an all you can eat option, where there's different options, and not really all you can eat, but there's like you can pick whatever you want. It's like a typical mini market of people coming together, and street food, basically what you get in Thailand and so on. We also have it here in South Africa, and it's pretty nocturnal, to be honest, when you see the sunset and the moon and this market and the light. It's really beautiful to see it. And we live in a very quiet town here, and we're very privileged because it's truly just out of a fiction book. You can look at the mountains and everything. It's really just extremely enigmatic and cinematic, and we're really lucky to be living in a place like this. Now, as you guys have noted, I wanted to attribute this video to a title, which you can see in my title page. It says, "When It's All Too Much." I wanted to make a video about when it's all too much. About this morning, I just, it was a bit all too much in a way, where I realized I started stressing out of the blue. I just started stressing about my future. I realized, holy shit, that holy shit moment when you think, holy shit, but I'm 31, 32, 40, 50, and I'm still living at my parents' house, or I'm still living with my family. Like, holy shit, where am I going to be in the next 4 years? And I had that holy shit or oh shit moment this morning, and I thought to myself, this wasn't my life 10 years ago, and I had this moment where I just panicked, and it was too much. And I thought, I don't want to be living like this for the next 2 years. And then talk about substance, things that I've started to think about. And I think, what do you really do when life gets all too much, when stress gets too much for you, when you realize you don't really know where the compass is pointing to anymore in your life? Everything seems like drivel, everything's just like obsolete, everything sounds like cut away. What are some postulates that you can hold on to so that the string won't really snap, so to speak, where things can make sense, where you can still hold on? That's the questions I ask myself a lot of times, and I asked myself this morning. I was kind of deep breathing. So after my panic moment, I had a bit of a panic attack. I became very self-aware, hence suffering from mental illness. Like it's sometimes getting too much for me. I can't focus properly, and it's just getting too much. And I don't really have medication or anything helping me out. Anyway, sometimes it just gets to the point where life gets a bit hard, and the focus and the stress becomes announced. And I mean, I thought about this concept for a while, and I thought about my own failures as such. And every time I feel like it's a rinse and repeat, I keep dusting myself off, and then I'm standing up again and I fight another battle. And it's been quoted numerous times, like ad nauseum, verbatimly in the past by the Japanese people. They say, I'd rather want to, and I think it comes from Lao Tzu, where he says, I'd rather want to die on my feet than on my knees. And that's kind of the concept that I'm doing right now, is I'm just keeping up, and I'm just fighting every time back, albeit difficult, albeit being very, very difficult to do. I just do that. And, depression is an interesting thing because I suffer from mental illness. One of the symptoms, and I do have a sufferance to, or I do have a life with, is depression. Since 2016-17, I started suffering from symptoms of depression, like traits of clinical depression, and this has made things pretty. The dormancy of depression in my life was not really evoked. It was truly dormant at some point. I really would say that I wasn't depressed, and all of a sudden it just erupted, and the depression really made a very deep fried sauce onto the fries for me with anxiety, where now I don't even only have the anxiety stuff, but I have the depression, all the other stuff that I'm dealing with, this mental roadblock that you really can't always get past. And depression is there's a lot of names for it, but people call it the black bile. I think it was back then when it's like almost like a play on words with the Black Plagues, or the pestilence in the 1300s that happened, across Eurasia. And it's interesting to note that, just like with the Black Plague or the Black Death, the black bile was a long-term illness that was undiagnosed and quite symptomatic. It's like it was almost like the medics and the doctors couldn't really pinpoint exactly what caused people to actually enact in such an invigorous way, and almost like, in an antagonistic, and sometimes antagonistic, but also just sometimes a very reticent or a drawback to modern day living. And these people would just like lose touch with reality, and sometimes psychotic symptoms would actually divulge, and these people would start to act quite indifferent to the things that they were attracted to priorly. And this would kind of just concern family members, and this is what it called the black bile. This is why they called it, because it was like a blackness, and it was like a sickness to the mind. And it's also called the Noonday Demon by some people. And the nightmares synonymously put with depression, nightmares is actually a reference to an old Gaelic demon, a demon or a bad spirit visiting people at night. So I will talk about this a bit later, but nightmares are an interesting thing. And the mares were actually spirits. It was bad, or it was fueled, or even, ethereal spirits who came and visited the people and tormented them further. Like people that wronged things or wronged other people, these spirits will come in the form of nightmares. And different groups, different religions, different traditions use different amulets or different means of fighting off bad. Like, for instance, the native Indians, like the Najava Indians used amulets, and they used a dream catcher. And as a kid, I made myself a massive dream catcher because quite interested in things like that as a kid as well, the spiritual side of life. And, anyway, so depression has a lot of different names, and depending on the different culture or different pick, it's all the same sauce, and depression is one of those things that I think it's a very bad bump in life. It's a bump that's so bad that it completely just wallops your whole car, and he just hits you, and you have this WTF moment, and it's just like, what the fuck, what had just happened? And it's just like, you're just aware things just go wrong, and you just have this propelling. It's almost like this feeling where something is like a lump in your back. It becomes like a sickness. It's just something pressing down on you. It's really what they call the incubus or the incubi. The demons that come to you at night. And this is kind of how depression is even during the daytime. But I'm going to reference my video. I'm going to talk about two paintings that I want to talk about quickly, and that's the nightmare painting. What you can see in front of you right now is the painting. It's called The Nightmare, and the whole depiction about this painting is a person wallowing in their demons throughout the night, and you can see the demons inside. Like, you can see the demon sitting on this person, and it's like a heavy burden, and this person can't sleep well, and they have paralysis and stuff. So these paintings, almost like Scrook, the Scream painting, is used by a lot of different groups, but this specific painting is used a lot by people with sleep paralysis and other types of pneumatic symptomatic stuff that they're suffering from, as a way of showing their tried, and they're kind of trying to get justice with its depictions. I think art is a very good way to do this, but the nightmare is a very good depiction of struggle. And what we talk about on this channel, and what a lot of us talk about, suffering from the 21st century plague, depression, and isolation. I think this painting really sums it up pretty well. Another one I came across was The Shepherd's Dream by John Milton. Now, he was a writer, if you can remember, from Paradise Lost. I do reference it a lot. Paradise Lost and Satan in Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is that novel where John Milton, similar to the Inferno by Dante, wrote about the satanic, or not the satanic, but Satan's triage, his demons, and how almost like the whole Bible, the biblical story, from seeing it like Satan as almost like an angel. The Bible depicts Satan as the fallen angel and everything. John Milton gave Satan almost like a bit of a throne, where he describes Satan as his story. So you get a side in John Milton's Paradise Lost as Satan's kingdom, more about Satan's kingdom and why he permitted the fall, like, how Satan is actually, and he's suffering throughout the redemption with God, like the whole pandemonium and everything like that. So John Milton depicts this thing very well. And The Shepherd's Dream is a painting that's also symbolizing depression and just isolation. And it's one, I would say, it's one to the lesser of the one above, the Nightmare. I won't say it's as strong as the Nightmare, but I would say the other one I always used as well is Skruk. Skruk is a Norwegian way. It's also Afrikaans, which means to be frightened. And Norwegian is a sister language to Afrikaans, by the way. But Skruk, it's my language, but Skruk means the scream. And the scream is another painting that portrays real terror, fright, and panic. And I'm going to probably reference it in my video as well. But I wanted to kind of just give a bit of a backdoor to these three paintings, because I think it's very cutting to the title of When It's All Too Much. Because when it's all too much is a difficult topic to really handle. Like, how do you really... Everyone's problem's kind of different. We don't have an homogeneity in issues always. Like, everything is unique, or it's quite singular rather than particularly. And I think it's it is one depiction of a complete crackdown to me, these paintings. It's almost like falling through the cracks, and there's a lot of other idioms that really points to people losing the ropes. There's a lot of idioms like, for instance, being at the end of one's tether is also commonly used to describe this phenomenon. Jacob's pit condition man finds himself in. It's to me the condition's Jacob's pit, right? And well, again, I can give numerous catchphrases to describe then an effect of being fed up and stuff. But as for the book, one great book I do think that you should read if you have struggles with mental illness is a book that I found recently. It's by a man. He also has a YouTube video about this on TEDx, but his name is Andrew Solomon. And his version of depression, he had a very, very bad trip with depression. Like, he had a pretty bad history with depression. He's now coping, but if depression is your thing that you're suffering from, I would really recommend, and for anyone actually who has gone through the blues and just struggled with mental health, I would really advocate his book. His book's name is Depression, the Noonday Demon, by the way. So, I mean, you can go and check it out. And I really would say that you should at least look at his TEDx video where he talks about depression and his struggle through this. Now, if you're not depressed, maybe just still look at the video and decide for yourself it's advice that can suit you. But for me, it really worked. And I wouldn't say worked, but it's the right way. But it did help to soothe the nerves in that way, to know that someone else knows exactly what you're going through when stuff gets really bad for you and stuff. So yeah, I would really recommend Andrew Solomon for this matter. His book is really stellar when it comes to depression. I think I think we might need to talk about a cure as well. Like, if things get too much for you, like if the boulder just gets a bit hard to bear, are there any cures that I know of? Would there be a cure? But a cure is a very difficult word to kind of pick apart, right? I would really say, is there really a way to manage? Is there an administration option to manage or control this horrible emptiness or this feeling that you're a failure, that things are getting too much for us? What possible solutions could there be? And I thought about it for a while, and I would say that I came up with, and I don't think it's really anything new, but I came up with this, with an old phrase from someone with the name of, he's a philosopher. He's quoted by Plato. Phaedo was the book, and he's quoted as, his name is Heraclitus, and he was an old ancient philosopher and an alchemist, as well as, I think he's an alchemist, but also a scientist. And he said the following, and I really took it to heart. He said, you can never step into the same river twice. It's really heavy words, right? You can never step into the same river twice. That's so true if you think about it. Like, the river that you have in front of you, every particle and every atom, every molecule, every structure of that river is moving forward. It's basic, like, its movement is time constant, right? So if that river is moving, there's a velocity to the river. And any bit that's, if you have t is equal to 0, any bit after t, which is timestamp, is another timestamp. So it's never the same place. Even circulation. But we're talking about a river. Let's get away from semantics here and say river. if you have a river that's moving constantly at a constant speed, there's never a time synchronously where the river is the same river. Every time you step into the river, the molecules hitting you, the structure is hitting you, the water H2O molecules hitting you is different every second, every time stamp it's different. That's quite true in life as well. Like every moment is a different moment. Every time you walk outside of the door, it's a different reality for you. You're a different person. It's a different reality. And if you think about it, this really soothes the nerves, because just thinking about the reality of it is it's never the same day. Tomorrow can't be the same day as today. Now, what does it really mean? Now, it means at least that time is ephemeral. It's ever-changing, It's, at least with time, time is changing the tide constantly. Worse or better, but at least changes happen. It's like a die roll in a way, and I think about it this way, that no matter what happens, you can give it time. I'll quickly tell you what I mean. You got to hang 10 for it for some time as well, but I'm going to quickly describe to you what I mean by time. Like, give you a quick example of this. If you think about the worst possible incidents that could happen to you, like let's say in a natural sense, for instance, you get in a very bad argument with with a sibling or with a family member, and for instance, you're falling out with a family member over humiliation. Let's make it very, very hard. Let's say you've been found naked by your society. Your clothes just fell off. You were in the middle of a market, and your clothes fell off, and everyone saw everything. Your jingle and everything. So it's a massive humiliation, right? Massive humiliation. You go home, you run home, but the whole town knows how you look like, and they know the ins and outs of what you look like, pun intended. But think about that scenario. It's rather humiliating, right? But here's the thing. Time, yeah, give it 5 years. It won't really look the same, right? Give it 5 years. Those people, they eventually will just move on. They won't really think about, yeah, that's the guy, who's clothes stripped. Maybe tomorrow they will, but after some time passes, those people will move on with their lives, right? So it's quite interesting that time is a means of healing. Time heals. Someone said time heals. It's so true. Rush, the band Rush used to say, time is a gypsy caravan, steals away in the night to leave you stranded in dreamland. Distance is a long-range filter. Memory is a flickering light. That's what Rush used to sing all the time. It's so true. Memory is a flickering light. Memory and everything we remember. Time will make that obsolete. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of trace back that old concept I want to talk about is also, I think Ikigai is a concept that should be mentioned. If with the title When It's All Too Much, I do think Ikigai is a Japanese word for purpose, for having purpose. And it's similar to the Franklian idea of man's search for meaning, that you have to have a purpose. This idea from Dostoevsky of man's search for, or the Nietzschean idea or model for man's purpose. And Ikigai is a Japanese word, means purpose. So I want to kind of present to you that when things are getting too much, try and keep hope. Try and keep hope to the light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard, but try and have a clear goal. I know this sounds quite mimic to say this, have a clear goal. What does it mean to really have? But for me, let me give you an example. I thought I really liked studying. I found a lot of treasure getting a degree. And I found a lot of treasure working hard for something. And I thought about maybe for me, it might be going back to vet school, studying to become a veterinarian. I think I might enjoy doing that. So for me, I know what will give me pleasure. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like maybe for you, it's joining the army or going to the Marines or becoming a police officer. That would truly, but ask yourself, what is what you truly wanted to do since you were a kid? And then I want to tell you that it's never impossible to find a way around that area. Like whatever you want to do is never impossible. Find a way to do that and keep hope, and you will get there. And it might get a bit too much. Like, it's sometimes it's a bit of a train smash. Like, life is a massive train smash. It gets too much for you. But I think that the main objective here is to treat yourself as someone you have a responsibility of helping. This comes from Jordan Peterson. It's not my idea, it's Peterson's idea. I've given him the utmost credit for this. But think of yourself as someone who needs help, who needs nurturing. And at any point in your life, you can help yourself. At any point, there's never a way, there's never a time where it's not okay to learn. There's never a time where it's not okay to improve. There's always a chance. What I really found important was to keep a Zettelkasten. Zettelkasten is German for note-taking. It is like a slip note, and it's keeping a diary of all your thoughts, stuff happening. And this gets back to the thing of writing. I'm extremely intrigued by writing. I love fiction, non-fiction. I love even journalism, contemplative writing and inquisitions. I truly love academic life. I love writing. I love the ability to rehearse and coerce grammar, linguistics, etymology. I truly love language, English, any language for that matter. I love dissections. So I love the idea of broadery and expressing myself through writing. I've yet to write another novel, but I mean, I've written my first novel, my first short novel. I might actually read it to you guys soon, but I've written my first short novel. It's really liberating to kind of use words, axioms, specific denominants, to use empowered words, power your verbs, write. Because if it all gets too much for you in life, let writing, hide behind your writing, write, type. But I prefer writing with a pen and paper. I think it's psychological maybe, but I like writing with a pen and paper a lot of times. And maybe for you, you're a typer, but use those tools, write, talk, make videos. That's kind of what I do when it all gets too much. I let time pass. I just let time pass. Time is a gypsy caravan. Remember that phrase. Let time pass. Time will heal. And that's all I can say for now is, when it all gets too much, let time pass. Let time heal the wounds of depression. The death, let time heal the wounds of that as well. It will come to pass. I saw with the death of my uncle last year. My aunt is still struggling. But it's getting better. It's getting better. Time heals. Time will heal. Whatever happens in your life, whatever happens. I know it's not easy words, but I want to leave you with a quote from Arnold Mendel. And he wrote the following: "Darkness, whether in mood or in night, is natural. So, if we flow with the black bile of melancholia and endure the terrible darkness of depression, eventually we will break through into the light of joy. This is the Tao, the way of darkness or depression. This is the mystery of its evolution."